Where did you have to do? In the Mahoney Valley.
South side.
To hear Rob's story, it sounds like he suddenly wrote 50 poems, but he had those poems and just worked a little bit. So it's a very nice book. Cover was done by Rob. Also, Kathleen, would you hold up that book? This is the book that Bottom Dog Press most recently did with the help of just about every poet in Cleveland. It's called Cleveland Poetry Scenes, a panorama and anthology. So if you haven't seen that book yet, that's one you want to get. We've got 40 poets in there, but we've got the history, including this place, which Steve wrote the story of Literary Cafe.
June 20th, right, Larry?
June 20th, that's a Friday, summer solstice, I think, at Mocha. There's going to be a big Mocha Mix party, and you're all invited to come and hear these poets read. Vince Robinson's band is going to be there, so the poets are encouraged to read with Vince's band, and there'll be drinks and food, and please come on June 20th. We're going to keep celebrating this place. I'm going to read 3 more poems. We'll just keep it simple. This is one that Ray helped to be published called The Cost of War. And again, I do read a lot of the Tong poets, and Tu Fu really writes well about war, you know, because they've been through it. My God, they've been through it. You know. And so here's a line from him. Tomorrow in the sunlight I shall walk in the manured fields and weep for the yellow dust of the dead. And this is my response. The cost of war. Tu Fu counted the dead along the road and in his heart. By firelight in a field, hungry and far from home, he stood, closing his eyes to tell their story. And this is, nicely enough, it's called The Story of War. And this is an experience I had with my grandson. I used to write a lot of poems about my dog. It was always my dog and I were out walking, and now it's my grandson. The dog died. You know. And my grandson helped me bury the dog, too. So we go through a lot of stuff together. He's 8 now, right? Just 8. He was 6 when this happened. My son had taken him to the library and got this big book on the Civil War. And he said to him, your grandpa will read that to you. And like, so, I mean, you know, if you read the story of the Civil War, you've got to explain the Civil War. You've got to understand it. You've got to deal with war. And so this is sort of what happened from that. And, you know, it's a blessing, but it was also painful. My grandson and I visit the History Museum. He is 6 and always asking. So we tour the cases, a war for each one, beginning with 1812, fought offshore on Lake Erie. But what has drawn him into history's web is the Civil War. Book images of men in a field wielding swords and bayonets and long rifles. How many inches, Grandpa? I am a pacifist, a veteran of no wars, yet I walk with him in his questions. 2 days ago, we strolled the Confederate cemetery on Johnson's Island, where men locked up men and buried those who could not survive. And what is left are headstones and small rebel flags, a tall statue of one with his long gun put up by the Daughters of the Confederacy. A young boy and an old man among headstones. I try to explain to him and myself the reasons for that war and others. And he looks up at me in mid-sentence, in that field of graves, and says, Grandpa, I would not risk my life to kill another person. That's simple and true to his own innocence. I tell him I honor their bravery, but not their killing. Right, he says, and we let that moment stand as our being together on a battleground. We trade the museum for lunch in a diner. Over milkshakes and burgers, he says, Grandpa, I love the war. And you do? Not the killing, not that, but your stories of the battlefields. I somehow know and let it stand, the truth between us. Silent on the long drive home, I turn to say, I love you, Adam. I am not going to die for a long time. And he answers back, never. God bless him for that. Where's that stuff come from in kids, you know? So this is one that's not kids, this were my students, and I wrote this poem some years ago when the students changed. You know, they talk about a non-traditional student. I teach like a community college, Farland's branch of Goldberg. You're from there?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. But they're all non-traditional, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, so if you're 19, you're 19, but you're living at home and you're working a job, and like, so it just struck me that, boy, I can't talk like I'm talking to these, you know, everybody's 19 and going off to college anymore. And so these are all experiences that happen. The students this year. See, people always ask you if you're a teacher, what are the students like this year? And then they tell you. They don't wait for you to answer. They can't read, can they? They're not very ambitious like that. You know, you want to say bullshit, you know? They're all different. They're all different. And so this partly says that. All right. Last poem for me. All day I have been teaching without a rest until a young woman reads to the class her essay of being raped. Her soft voice, her soft eyes are full of pain and courage. And she does not cry until I say, "You're very brave." Monday, I'm preparing for classes when a woman knocks at my office door. She begins to introduce herself as one of my students. I say, "I know you." And her eyes finally look up, frightened and ashamed. She says her paper will be late because she cannot think. In what seems a breath, she tells me her husband of 19 years has left her. I say, "That must be hard." And it's for the best. I see that now. He's abused me for 20 years. Silence flows between us as she looks away. I see it now in my oldest boy. She winces away tears. I'm small. It doesn't take much. Her voice quivers like a struck animal as she sighs, "I've got to protect my youngest boy." We are two people caught in reality's harsh light. I tell her there are places and people who might help her, but she rises slowly, her body already weighted down. I want to touch her hair as a daughter, but say instead, "Do the paper when you can. Take care of yourself." Today, she dropped my course. This year I've heard the stories of so many, men whose plants close down and who cannot swallow their own anger and scorn. Women whose children are gone and who now hope to give birth to themselves. One lives in a camper with her 2 kids. Another hopes to survive through her disability. In class last week I asked, how many know someone without health insurance? 10 nod. Yeah, me. Young faces of those who hope someday to do almost as well as their parents. I tell one boy he is missing too many classes and will fail. He looks into my grave face and nods. "Hey man, it's okay, really," then disappears around the corner. Never knew what happened. Yesterday a woman called to say, "I'm having trouble with my son. His father wants to steal him back. I can't leave him to come to class." And I can only think to say, "I'll see you when you can." Then add, "Take care." Today I show a film on the homeless and ask the class what they think. Slowly, a woman rises to tell her story of living in a car for a year here in Cleveland, of reading her way back from jail, of writing her way home here now. She got her master's degree. This year, my jokes about run-on sentences and punctuation as little road signs seem hollow before their lives. Out the window, I watch as hundreds of starlings and sparrows cluster on the ground and trees. I hope they are finding food. This fall, I hear their stories and wonder, who could not love them? This fall, I hear their stories and wonder, who could not love them? Thank you. Thanks for This poem is entitled Fear. As a child, I did not appreciate fear. Oh, there were the baby fears of dark basements, haunted by hulking furnaces with long arms of gravity-fed cold air returns. They were just pipes and shadows. They did not hit like the toughs, who thought me small, safe target. Only twice did any land the stinging blow. I remember their reactions, both the same, though years apart. I must not have done it right, not to suit them. After a straight shot to face, they stopped, heads turning to silent companions, as if their attempt at improvisation had left the storyline. I had failed the audition. Was I to fall, or cry, or run? Like an idiot, I did nothing. They should have told me. I just stood my ground, and they wondered if I had seen the stars. I had, but not enough to appreciate fear. No second punch ever found me, and the two traced wide circles around me after that, as if I knew the secret of their souls, the boy who didn't fall, or fight, or run. In time, fear found me. I see the ones I love at a distance where fate makes helpless, easier to take the blow and stand down the bully. This happened, Nancy and I go dancing whenever she doesn't have to work on a Saturday night. I go to Sawmill Creek. They usually have a live band. This happened one night. It's called Last Dance. I saw a man stop dancing. It was at the bar, and a band was playing, a good band. The regulars came to dance and drink and laugh and make up stories that got bigger with the amplified beat of the bass guitar. An older man was there, not much older. He had come to dance. All in black, two-tone shoes, silver buckle. He had the moves. He and his partner did not miss a step until he just stopped. Would have gone down hard, but for the woman in his arms who gently floated at his side. Dance floor suddenly clear, and the squad repeating, "Clear!" 3 times they shocked him before sliding him onto a bodyboard and gurneying him out the door. He had come to dance. And 2 more, okay? This one is called Without Purpose. I'm going to learn to walk without purpose, to stop halfway down the sidewalk and talk to myself with animated gestures. I will always linger long enough so that everyone who views the surveillance camera knows that I have no cell phone. Someday they will all know me in the malls, the parking lots, and the public buildings. Poor bastard, they will call me. Harmless, too. They will ask each other if I have gone off my medication or if I have ever been truly diagnosed. Seeing me thus, they will cease to see me at all. I suppose watching neighbors is always easier than knowing. In the end, the spectators are deluded. And finally, this one's a pantoum. It's a pattern of repeating lines, and I tried this. This is called, so each, there's a formula, I don't remember what it is. I have it written down A, B, or ABC. Some poet knows this. It's called Darfur. Being born human, compassion should come easy as my kin sit in the waste of war, sisters and brothers of one flesh. Compassion should come easy, but I live in isolation of sisters and brothers of one flesh, voices calling in need. But I live in isolation of soft music that covers their cry, voices calling in need, I who have ears to hear. Soft music covers their cry as my kin sit in the waste of war, I who have ears to hear, being born human.
Where can I buy one of those books?
could one of those books be?
$10.
Only
$14.
$10. Ooh, that sounds good. Not usually.
Okay, well,
We only have.
When we round up the other sheet, we'll read the poem at the end.
you guys done with the other sheet yet, guys? Couple more people.
Couple more
poets.
Couple more poets.
Yeah, I'll read another one.
There you go. That's it.
I'll read just something that's not a
Keep this
poem.
sucker going.
No, I'm not going to
Yeah, you promised you would sing.
I drove
Come on,
all the way
Rob.
just for that.
fooled you.
We can do the sing along.
We can do a sing-along. I don't know if this group's ready for that.
Read it Thursday.
Come on.
Later.
They will.
Let's get some more beers. I'll be ready.
This is Larry's poem reminded me of this. He allowed me, because I'm a novelist, really, to put some short shorts in the back that are not poetry. Think of it as a prose poem if you're a purist, all right? But one of his poems reminded me of this. Good teachers have a way of killing off their students, at least the ones who are paying attention. To this day, I can recite the short list of those who took part in my homicide when my all-knowing, assured, adolescent self came to a sudden end. It was not unwelcome on my part, because it felt like the freedom to own my own thoughts and judge between new ideas and the constraints of the past. Now I sit with a student. She talks about her term paper. Her eyes sparkle with energy, and I feel a proud complicity in her recent demise. Toward the end, she grows silent. I can't go home anymore, she says. I raise an eyebrow, and she continues. My grandma asks me what I learned in your religion class. I can't tell her. She thinks the Bible was written by God, word for word. I nod, imagining to myself that Grandma probably thinks that King James protected under his pillow while he snuggled with his sweet Steenie. I say nothing, and she goes on. Grandma talks up my little sister, Chandra. She's pregnant again. Of course, Graham doesn't like the father of this one. Uses the B word too much, she says. And Chandra says I look down on her now that I've been off to college. Her words make me remember my father's warnings. He had not gone to college and always recited the mantra. They don't teach you everything in college, so don't get all stuck up. They don't teach you common sense. She's a good student. One whose hunger for learning feeds me as well. I give her my short lecture on surviving trips home and enduring house arrest by flying under the radar. I see sadness in her face and maybe some regret over the killing. My mind flits to all the possibilities, and I pray that her death survives.
Hey, that poetry's almost good enough to buy.
Oh, wow.
Almost.
Go ahead.
Are we ready to do that, Larry?
No. Can you collect that other sheet in there that people
Oh,
read
yeah.
on that side?
Oh, yeah.
You want to read it? You want Rob or Ray to read it?
Oh, I'll have radio.
No, you read it.
No, we're getting raised in charge. Who's drinking?
Okay, I'll let you look it over while I read this one. And you read that one.
Okay. Okay, so this is your poetry. And here's how, someone somewhere is writing a poem right now. And someone is smelling the sour breath of an inebriated lover just before a kiss. I didn't say they were all going to be pretty. And somewhere someone is pulling dandelions from the gravesite of their best friend. Someone somewhere is making a decision that will change a life, but doesn't every decision do that? And someone is crying in the dark. And somewhere someone is wishing to turn back the time to find the mother whose eyes were bright and sharp and full of the knowledge of who she is and who I am. Right now someone is making love and thinking about Barack Obama as the next president.
I bet it's not Hillary Clinton.
That's bizarre.
Or it is.
should be.
Yeah. And somewhere someone is picking at a scab, exposing the evil festering beneath, revealing to another the things that aren't right. And someone downstairs is dying and glad to let go. And someone is smoking a cigarette, wishing it were a joint. Thank you. And now someone is pretending he doesn't see the inviting cleavage. And someone somewhere is not in the least...
It's Nick!
I've seen Nick's cleavage. We've all seen
And someone somewhere is not in the least offended. And someone downstairs is looking up at the origins of creation. Yet, we also know and can never forget that right now someone is saying goodbye to someone who's breathing their last. And right now someone is playing an accordion as a young married couple takes their first dance together. Right here, right now. Let's hear it for them.
I'll try. Yeah, there are. I'm just going to have to improvise the first thing. Somewhere someone is putting away, folding up the winter blankets. Yes, we've all done that one. And somewhere someone is smiling, right now. Someone somewhere is nearly dead, but came back a single moment at a time out of the love laid down by lovers. Someone is smoking a cigarette in the rear. That I'd like to see! That I would like to see!
Is that like lighting a fire?
That's enough for that. Don't wish for that.
That's called a rebuttal!
Say that again.
Amen.
And somewhere someone is happy, living sweet, the American dream. Right now someone is having good sex!
Nothing.
Not here.
Come on, people. Somewhere someone is sitting uncomfortably cross-legged on the carpet, watching their breath, wondering how the hell this is supposed to calm you down. That's good. That's a little Zen moment. Someone downstairs is cutting apples next to a honey jar, hoping her husband love her, the meditation CD she bought him. I interpolate. And somewhere the sun stares at the solar system, taking note of each atoms within her. Somewhere someone is basking in the embers of love, not yet knowing that some fire would later consume them. I think we got a poet in our midst somewhere. I'd like to meet that person.
Kick him right the hell out.
Somewhere someone is laughing drunkenly at the stars and falling in love with the infinite sky. Somewhere someone is opening up an all-night diner that has been closed for many days. Okay, we know who wrote that one. And somewhere someone is on an escalator, falling moon pies. You can have one now or never. And somewhere someone, if only to fart in the bathroom, and pop the bubbles, All right.
Lovely.
And yet, and yet we also know and can never forget that right now someone is getting a speeding ticket. And right now someone is reading a novel that's not really a novel. Right here, right now, someone is opening a beer to spread some joy and quell some fear.
Yeah, Robbie.
Roy
Smith.
Robert Bruce. Smith Brothers.
Robert Bruce.
So
they have, I'm guessing you guys have books,
Give me a second.
CDs.
just a second.
Hold on. Oh, there it is.
Lost it.
The pony.
You're looking for books.
Just printed this up yesterday.
Thank you all for renewing my faith in this poetry reading.
Lost faith now.
I've been like, but I feel renewed. I feel like a renewed energy, and to commemorate my renewed energy, I want you all to put your hands together for Larry and Rob Smith. Too often we forget Larry and Rob Smith. But not tonight.
Couldn't help it.
No. Who here has not been here before?